Okay, and we are racing today down in beautiful Bunbury's, not too far away from that big double sprint cup day comes up in March. But today we're racing down there. There's 8 big events. First gets underway 1:35. Shorty, what about Pinjarra? Yesterday, the 2 feature races. Could you have got 2 closer finishes? What a day.
Yeah, spectacular. It looked like there was a very healthy crowd on track as well there yesterday, Marty. And as you said, the 2 feature races of the day, great billing, and also this time next week, they'll be building towards another big Sunday afternoon. I'll be there hosting the Punters Challenge Day, that we're moving from the Ascot Belmont experience to the Pinjarra experience for the day. So looking forward to having the Sunday afternoon there at Pinjarra next week,
That sounds like
Marty.
I might have to come down and join you, Shorty. That'd be a lot of fun.
It's a great day
If
out.
you missed it, the 2-year-old classic yesterday, Do I Feel Lucky, hangs on by the chin of its chinny chin. It was perfectly proper, diving late. Mac nailed that call, and then the next race, you've got London's Image drifting out as it does. Smooth Chino comes inside of it and nails that on right on the line. 2 exciting finishes for the 2 big races.
Big time, and well done to Austin Gallardi as well. A massive result for the young man, and obviously there's been some challenges along the way. Also to Indiana Wynart there yesterday. A massive result for that duo, taking out the Magic Millions WA 3-year-old trophy. And of course, well, it's nothing new, Marty. In recent times, we've been seeing plenty of the Caseys having a stack of success, but well done to Sean and Jake again there yesterday with Do I Feel Lucky?
Yep, 100% there. Simon Hill's about to kick us off. Mitch Freedman, after Skybird was able to win the Lightning Stakes yesterday, will be a special guest. Chris Nelson and Racetrack Ralphy fill out the first hour. Second hour, Brad Hardie, Courtney Walsh, hopefully Indiana Wynart, Steve Withers. Of course, Greyhound of the Year tonight, Shorty.
It is indeed, yeah, that's right. Also, a couple of new inductees into the Hall of Fame at that particular function, so a busy night ahead.
Okay, Simon Hill joins us on the Aftermath this morning at 11 minutes past 6. A very good morning, Simon.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Going beautifully, thank you, Simon. Lovely to have your company on this Sunday morning. Another very busy night of Premier League action. Let's start working through some of these results, kicking off with Brighton. 3-0 winners over Chelsea. Very impressive performance. They were able to get a couple in the first half and then sealed it up with a third in the second half. But big result for the Seagulls.
Yeah, this was the Friday night game, mostly, of course, on the Saturday. But Chelsea, again, coming unstuck. I don't quite know what's happened to them. I know they've got some injuries, particularly in attack. Nicholas Jackson, they're missing at the moment, and he's been excellent for them in the early part of the season. It looked for a while as though they were going to maybe even challenge, for the Premier League title, but throughout this game, lots of possession, but didn't muster a single shot on target in the 90 minutes. And they also picked up an injury through Noni Madueke. So that's starting to build for Enzo Maresca. They went out of the FA Cup, of course, so they've only got the Conference League to aim for this season. But it looks as though they're going to struggle to make even fourth and Champions League qualification. As you say, big win for Brighton. They've been a little bit up and down this season, but an absolutely brilliant goal scored by Kaoru Matoma to set them on their way, and then a double from Yankuba Minte. And in the end, it was pretty comfortable for the Seagulls.
Okay, the Arsenal away, 2-0 against Leicester, and then Villa and Ipswich, a 1-1 draw.
Yeah, Arsenal, of course, are going for the title, although they're 4 points behind Liverpool. It might have been even more than that. So very resolute Leicester City are, of course, battling against the drop at the other end, and Arsenal struggled to break them down, which again brings into a pretty sharp focus their inability to bring in a striker during the January transfer window. They've got quite a few injuries. Kai Havertz, the latest to fall victim to that curse. But they managed to get the job done just about late on. Mikel Merino with 2 goals in the last 10 minutes to cut that gap at the top to 4 points. And special mention to Ethan Nwaneri, who at 17 years of age was Arsenal's best player, really. Hit the woodwork a couple of times in the second half and was always a threat. So Arsenal stay in contention. A decent point for Ipswich, you'd probably say, although they might have thought they were going to get all 3. They played 50 minutes with only 10 men at Villa Park. Axel Tuanzebe sent off after 40 minutes. But the relegation threatened Tractor Boys, managed to steal the lead. Liam Delap, who's having a very good season, signed him from Manchester City, and they almost held out. But Ollie Watkins earned Villa a point. And again, special mention to Alex Palmer in the Ipswich goal. He was making his Premier League debut at the age of 28, and he made some pretty good saves to earn that point for Ipswich, who stay in touch with the clubs just outside the bottom three. Disappointing to Villa. Not a good performance. They've got five games coming up in 14 days over the next couple of weeks in 3 different competitions, and they're going to have to be a lot better than that if they're going to win some silverware this season.
Fulham were 2-1 winners over Nottingham Forest, and your boys, Manchester City, absolutely doing a number on Newcastle, 4-0 winners. Great win for Fulham, which was their first at Sir Craven Cottage in 2025, really putting a dent in Forest's top 4 hopes. Forest a little bit below par, although another goal for New Zealand international Chris Wood. He's having an unbelievable season. He's scored 18 goals in the Premier League this year. Only Erling Haaland and Mo Salah have got more. But Fulham got the points. Emile Smith-Rowe, the former Arsenal striker, putting them in front, and Calvin Bassey with the winner late on. Forest have got Newcastle, Arsenal and Manchester City to come in their next 3 matches, and those 3 games could give us a big clue as to whether they're going to be good enough to stay the course and finish in the top 4, which of course everybody thought was hugely unlikely at the start of the season. My boys are starting to come good a little bit anyway, at least in the league, after the huge disappointment of losing at home to Real Madrid in that playoff first leg during the week. A game City really should have won, but I stayed up to watch this last night, and we absolutely blew Newcastle away in the first half. A great hat-trick by one of the new boys, Omar Marmoush, all coming in 14 minutes. His first goals for City. Savinho also excellent, and Nico Gonzalez, another one of the new signings, giving City that Rodri-type security in midfield. James McAtee with a goal late on off the bench to make it 4. The only cloud really was a potential injury to Erling Haaland, who limped off. It seemed to jar his knee late on, so he might be a doubt for that second leg at the Bernabeu against Real Madrid during the week. That would be a massive out for City. A big week coming up as well. We've got Liverpool at home after that trip to Spain, so huge 7 days coming up for my boys.
Bournemouth away 2 good for Southampton 3-1, and Brentford early goal. They were able to beat West Ham 1-0.
Yeah, Southampton are pretty much dead and buried, I think. Only Sheffield United back in 1975-76 have accrued fewer points after 25 games. And, of course, they also went out of the FA Cup to Burnley from the Championship last week. They're having a horrible season. Only 1 home win all campaign, and this was probably the predictable result, to be honest. Dango Atara, Ryan Christie was excellent throughout, and Marcus Tavernier with the 3 goals. Kamaldeen Sulemana with the consolation for Saints. Bournemouth up to 5th. They could be in the Champions League next season. Wow. What a story that would be. A club that only has a ground that holds 11,000. But they're having a terrific season. And for me, Anthony Iraola, their manager, is probably the manager of the season, whatever happens from here on in. The London derby won by Brentford, as you rightly say. Early goal from Kevin Schade, the German international. Could have been more, to be honest, in the first half. Schade hit the post as well. Johan Witzer with a couple of goals ruled out for offside. West Ham have not really experienced that new manager bounce under Graham Potter. They've lost 3 of their last 4. They've got a bit of an injury crisis to their strikers as well. Mikel Antonio's been out for a while. He had that horrific car crash, if you remember. Nicholas Fulkrug, Crescencio Somerville, all unavailable. They're not going to get relegated, West Ham, but dissent is starting to grow at London Stadium, not for the first time in recent years.
Oh, opposite scenes at Everton with Moyes back at the helm, and haven't the Toffees really launched themselves from an awkward spot into a position now where there's a fair bit of comfort, up to 13th on the table. They're up to 30 points for the season, and Moyes looks to be really enjoying his time back at the helm there at Everton, and the fans are getting right around him again.
He's doing a super job. They've won 4 of 6 under the not-so-new boss. They're now 13 points clear of the bottom 3. seemingly safe from relegation. And this win at Crystal Palace, the end of a pretty good week, to be honest, for the Toffees. They got that late draw against Liverpool in the Merseyside derby on Thursday, the last ever at Goodison, which they celebrated long and hard. And another late goal in this one for Carlo Alcaraz on his starting debut, earning them a big win at Palace. Beto had put Everton in front. Jean-Philippe Mateta with the equaliser, his 11th of the season. But yeah, David Moyes working his magic once again. Palace are safely mid-table. They're not going to be relegated this season, but their home form's a little bit of a worry. They've only won twice at Sellers Park all season. But yeah, Everton, super stuff. He's a good manager, David Moyes. I think he's actually hugely underrated. And I just wonder what West Ham fans think at the moment, whether they should have kept him.
Indeed, and certainly Everton fans are glad they did not. Let's have a look at the remaining couple of games. Liverpool, as warm as it gets, $1.19, the draw $7.50, and Wolves at $13. And the other game, Tottenham $2.35, the draw $3.45, and Manchester United at $2.95. How do you see these two games unfolding, Simon?
No value for you at Anfield, unfortunately. Liverpool will win this one. I'm as certain can be about that particular fixture. They've won 15 of the last 16 with Wolves. And even though they've got that quick turnaround from that emotional Merseyside derby, they'll be too good for Wolves. For me, they're the best team in Europe at the moment. I don't like saying that because I don't like Liverpool very much. But I can't see Wolves getting anything but a half-time cup of tea at Anfield. The other game might offer some value. I think there's a good case to be made that this will end in a draw, which is the best option of the three in terms of the return. Both teams still suffering massive injury problems. Manchester United had to draft in academy players to make up the numbers at training this week. And Spurs, as we well know, under Ange, hot one week and very cold the next. So I can't split those two. I think they'll end all square at White Hart Lane.
Okay, let's switch to the A-League. 3 matches yesterday. We'll run through these. Adelaide United 1, Newcastle 2, Western United 0, Auckland 2, and Melbourne City 1, Perth Glory 0. Yeah,
it doesn't get any better for your boys in the West, does it? They were competitive again. Certainly the first 45 minutes, they were more than serviceable against Melbourne City. I called this game yesterday. But one goal settled it. Lawrence Wong, the 17-year-old, becoming City's youngest ever goal scorer with a great strike. And Glory, as I say, they were good in the first half. They hit the bar through Tommy Murchler. Lockie Wales forced a good save out of Patrick Beach. But in all honesty, the second half was a bit of a non-event. Neither team really troubling the goalkeepers. And that lack of goals is hurting Perth. They've scored only 12 this season. They've got goals in that team. Wales, Miliusnich, Taggart, Woods, they've all scored goals at A-League level, but I tend to think they're just missing a good creative playmaker, and that's why they remain down close towards the bottom. At the other end of the table, Auckland's 2-0 winners, a very tight game against Western United, 2 goals in the space of 2 or 3 minutes just before half-time. Guillermo Mai with a long-range shot, beautiful effort, and Max Marta in the second minute of stoppage time. And that's win for Auckland, and the surprise home loss for Adelaide United. They were beaten 2-1 at home by the Newcastle Jets, means Auckland are now 5 points clear. The Reds again stumbling at home. They're not the only A-League team to struggle to win at home this season. It's been a real pattern. Lockie Rose put the Jets in front. Stephen Mork equalised in first half stoppage time, and you thought for all money that Adelaide would push on in the second half, but instead Clayton Taylor won it from Newcastle. Adelaide racked up 25 shots, but couldn't get the equaliser. So that's the story in the A-League at the moment. Unfortunately, teams struggle to win at home, but they're very good on the road for whatever reason.
Okay, and just the one remaining game there today. Western Sydney Wanderers $2.12, the draw $4, and Macarthur at $2.85. Will Western Sydney get the job done later on today there, Simon?
To be honest, and just bearing in mind what I've said about teams struggling to win at home, and the Wanderers are one of those teams, their home record this season reads 2 wins, 1 draw and 5 defeats. And the Bulls' away record reads 5 wins, 1 draw and 2 losses. So I wouldn't be surprised if Macarthur went there today and got all 3 points. Now, I'm not sure whether Valère Germain is available. I think he picked up a suspension during the week. I don't know whether that kicks in today or not, but if he's unavailable, that might change things a bit. But MacArthur were more than serviceable in their draw with Western United at home last week. The Wanderers, of course, should have won the Sydney Derby, but conceded virtually with the last kick of the game. It'll be interesting to see how they bounce back from that. But this is a big fixture for them if they want to stay in touch with the top 6. But I've just got a sneaky suspicion that the Bulls will get the job done.
All righty, so a good value there as well later on today there with MacArthur. Simon, always great catching up with you on a Sunday morning. We really appreciate your time. Enjoy the remainder of your weekend. We'll catch up again next Sunday.
You too, guys. Have a good week.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. Now the text line's up and about for Retrovision. 0427 789 571. Hopefully Mitch Freedman not far away. Dockers, early signs not good. That is Wayne Ajero, Shorty. You'd be panicking. You'd be pulling the parachute. Time to go.
They are called pre-season games for a reason. And it was an exhibition match. And you know what? I thought it is what it was put there for last night. It was a good hit out for Freo, obviously, to get some game time and fitness for their players, but it was a spectacular display, and to all credit to the Indigenous All-Stars, some of the quality of football that was played there. Marty, I grew up sort of following South Fremantle from a young age, loving guys like Stephen Michael and Benny Vergona and Basil Campbell. So I've loved the Black Magic from being a little boy, the term Black Magic, and then watching these Indigenous stars at South Fremantle, and it's been a great joy. Oh, big time. It's been a great joy of mine right the way through watching these Indigenous players across the game, and again last night they just delivered so many highlights. It was spectacular to watch.
When the game's played in that manner, hard, fast surface, it's open, it's purest football, is it?
And the leg speed and the closing speed. So a lot of the Indigenous players are often praised for, their skills and high-flying marking. But one thing that they do very well that they're often not given credit for is the shutdown closing speed.
Which is, I think, a new dimension to their game over the last 10 years. Probably the Riolis brought that in. Daniel... The good Rioli, the real good one from Hawthorn. Cyril. Yeah. He sort of started, I reckon.
Did. And got so many tackles holding the ball, free kick. But now guys like Cozzy Pickett's a great example of it. They close you down so quickly and put so much pressure on you. And you could see Freo last night on a bunch of occasions when they had the ball, they were just hot constantly because the Indigenous players with that closing speed were excellent. But I loved it. It was great. I wouldn't panic. I don't think that Freo were going to disclose all of their season plans in a pre-season hit out, Wayne, so I wouldn't be taking too much out of it. And not just this game, all pre-season games for me, there's a golden rule. You watch them, you get fitness, you hope at the end of it that no one's injured, and you move on to next week.
Out. The leader is Marzu from Way to the Stars. A length and a half to Switzerland, curled up behind them with Growing Empire. Further back is Philosopher, deeper with Stretton Angel, then Joyful Fortune. Benedetta's about 4 off the front, and behind those horses then is Skybird, who's trying to get through. It's Way to the Stars, joined by Growing Empire. Stretton Angel the outside, Benedetta coming on, or Growing Empire's running all over the place, and Skybird dropped on them, drove through from last. Races clear, a spectacular win. Skybird, 3/4 Stretton Angel, photo third, Benedetta or Switzerland. Traffic.
Well, Shorty, what a win it was for Skybird. And Mitch Freedman joins us to talk about that Group 1 win in the Black Caviar Lightning yesterday. Good morning, Mitch.
Morning, Marty and Shorty. How are we?
Really well, thank you, Mitch. Great to be catching up with you this morning. Congratulations. This was just a spectacular win. I was here in the studio with Marty watching this race yesterday, and once we saw your horse just basically barge its way through the pack, it was a stunning performance. And all credit to the horse, and we knew that the horse had a fair bit of ability going into the race, but the quality of opposition that Skybird was up against yesterday, and it dropped them off like it was a top grader, and the rest were just going around in a maiden. It was a stunning win. Yeah,
no, it was absolutely super for the stable, and it was a nice watch. Johnny Allen afterwards said that he was trying to follow sort of Switzerland through the whole way, and he gave her a little bit of a squeeze, and he just about ran up the back of it.
Yeah,
back of him, and I was watching and thinking, Johnny, just get out on her and get moving, because she was just travelling that strongly, and I was just hoping that when he did ask the question that the turn of foot was there, and it was, and she put the race away very quickly.
It wasn't that easy though for a bit, was there? Because he was ducking and weaving and looking for that run that you were hoping for, but when he got it, she just burst through. It was awesome, but. The smart people over there in Victoria had been watching her work, and she wasn't the only one in this race, Mitch, apart from obviously the 3-year-olds and the favourites, but a lot of horses like the second horse, Stretton Angel, the third horse, Benedetta, they'd all been working really well behind the scenes, and it just so happened that yours was the one who presented best on the day. She was fantastic.
We're more exposed with the jump outs and trials and that now, and you could see that those other horses were going really well. They got to grace the turf of Flemington and have a look at it, and we were out at Horsham. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because the horse was going really well, and we were happy with everything she was doing, and pleased for the job the team have done, and her turn of foot was superb, and it was very well ridden and well handled on the day.
How about the lead up to the day? How do you attack it as a trainer with all the weather that was going on early? And once there was the downgrade, did that suit your mare? Because I know it didn't suit attrition.
Yeah, exactly. No, we were going down there knowing that attrition's chances were diminishing, but we needed to kick him off. And I thought her chances were elevating, and then you get out and walk the track and have a look at it. And, you've got this bit of a headwind, you're going to be called up with a bit of cover and having the last crack at him. And if that meant that she was, powering through and running third or fourth, I would have been wrapped too. But, from about the 400 metre mark, I thought, if she lets down like she looks like she's travelling, we're going to be right in the finish. But, you talk about the lead up, even just during the week, racing.com were playing the replays of Lightning's gone by, and you listen to the names that have been involved in it. And, it's pretty exciting just to be involved in it, let alone see her let down like she did.
And how she pulled up this morning, Mitch, everything looking good. Obviously, she's got greener pastures, plenty of more good things to do. How she pulled up this morning out of the run?
Yeah, she was a bit sore leading the races yesterday, but she seems pretty good this morning. We'll just work with our vets and our team to sort of isolate where that soreness has come from and work out what we're doing going forward with the prep or giving her a break or whatever needs to be done. But, a little bit of a dampener on the day, but she seems to be a lot better this morning, so we'll just work our way through that.
So prior to that soreness, what were the sort of plans after the Lightning?
Newmarket will be ready and then freshen into Adelaide. So, we'll just assess those plans over the next few days.
Well, regardless of what happens here, the money's in the bank, as they say in the classics. So you've taken out that Group 1. She's now an incredibly valuable mare. And as a trainer, you must have wonderful satisfaction, Mitch, when you put the work into a horse like this. You front up and, as we've alluded to, all the chat was about these boom 3-year-olds, Growing Empire, Switzerland, Traffic Warden, what they were going to do with the rest, and then up you turn with Skybird and absolutely just drop on them like that. Just from a trainer perspective, when that split came and Johnny went bang, it was almost like it hit a nitro button. It went that quickly. It happened so quickly. I said to Marty, geez, you almost needed a seatbelt on for the jock there, how quickly it all happened. That moment where you looked and realised there is a burst of speed here that's likely going to be just too good for the rest. What was that feeling like for you? Was it complete euphoria?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've seen it at home a number of times, and obviously I've galloped her a number of times myself, and you just wouldn't pick it from her. Like you ride her every day, and it's like riding a horse that's just been broken in. She doesn't really do much for you. She doesn't really travel that well around the track, or you're always asking her to do the work. But when you get out there and gallop her, it's like you're on a completely different horse. And Johnny come through the week and said about he'd given her a few gallops and then the trial and then the gallop during the week, and he just said she's just so unassuming you wouldn't predict it from her. But when she does get out there and it's game day, even leaving the mounting yard yesterday, as soon as she got out on the track, she was pumped up with adrenaline and ready to go, and you knew that she was going to bring her A game.
What's the plan with attrition now after that run yesterday? Making late ground, went fourth over the 1400 in the Elms.
Yeah, we've just got to make a decision whether... Well, we want to try and get to an Australian Cup,
Yep.
But we've just got to make a decision now whether we go to the Australian Cup with 2 more runs or we go there with 1 more run. Obviously, the trip over to Perth and only a short turnaround, he pulled up like he hadn't gone around yesterday. His recovery was incredible, and we'll just work out which way we think it's best to get him to that race and whether 4 runs will be too many or whether 3 runs is the right recipe. So that's what we've got to make a decision on over the next few days.
Stable's in very good form. You've had 5 or 6 winners for the month. I know there's been a lot of placings. Have we got one to follow this week for our punters?
Look, the horse running today at Ararat will run well, but barrier guys haven't been kind to us there. So if she gets the right run from the gate, she'll be in it for a long way.
We'll have to ask you for its name.
Immortal Justice, sorry.
Immortal Justice, all right. Hey, Mitch, always great to catch up again. You're a breath of fresh air when you're over here in the West, and continued success.
Thanks very much, guys. Enjoy the day.
Well done, Mitch.
Here's your beauty, Mitch Freedman.
Blah, blah, blah. Let Marty Young and David Shortte do all the talking on the Aftermath. Sunday morning at his best on Tab Radio Racing and Sports.
Here's a man at his best. Chris Nelson, a very good morning.
Good morning, Marty. Good morning, Shorty.
Good morning to you, Chris Nelson. Nice to be catching up on this Sunday morning. It was an excellent day of racing there yesterday, Randwick, and saw them pretty well at Eagle Farm as well yesterday, Chris. But let's start at this splendid program there yesterday at Randwick. Kick things off in race number 3. It was the Piero Plate over the 1100 metres, and the unlikely named Shaggy for Adam Hieronymus was too good for Comedy and Skyhook.
Yeah, $7.50 chance Shaggy, and he remains unbeaten now. He won that race by 5.5 or over 5.5 lengths at Coffs Harbour. Then he came up here to the Sunshine Coast and he ran them into the ground there, and I don't think many expected him to measure up to some of these very smart local 2-year-olds yesterday. But look, he led, as he does. He's got a ton of speed, and he was pressured. I mean, there was a couple. Hillier was there. United States was up there 3 wide, no cover, challenging him. So he didn't get any peace, but... wow, he just moved away from him in the straight, shot clear to win by, over 2 lengths on the line. So all honours with him. Comedy was good running on. Skyhook was good running on first starter. Gee, I thought Peloton was disappointing, guys. I'm interested to hear what your thoughts are there. And Hillier, United States, as I said, worked pretty hard in the run, didn't offer anything in the straight. But I thought all honours with Shaggy. The flop was Peloton.
Big time. Had the right camp, Marty.
Correct.
Was there, had the soft run, and when Zach Lloyd got it into the open air, gave a kick for about 38 metres, and that was it. Gonzo.
I think, Comedy was obviously a massive run, but I think Skyhook will improve with that run too. First time at the races, ranged up, loomed up like it was going to beat them, and then just petered a little. It'll come on with a run. The race number 4, this Yorkshire just continues to build a picket fence.
Well, he does. And look, I think he really wants further. I did think that after his last run. He only got an extra 100 metres yesterday, and it took him a little bit of time to get past Sandpaper. I just wanted to mention this race because poor old Sandpaper, absolutely flying at the moment, has done all the work last start and been nabbed by Yorkshire. Again, up on the speed. It was a hot speed in this race and was run down by Yorkshire late. And each time there's been a gap back to the third horse. So if Sandpaper could get into a race, minus Yorkshire, probably wins. So you can follow both of those going forward, but I do want to see Yorkshire over further than 1,600 from now on.
Indeed, and also want to give a shout out to 3 kilo claimer Anna Roper. Handled things beautifully yesterday. Had a couple of pressure rides aboard horses that were very, very popular, and that was well done aboard Yorkshire. On to race number 5. This was the Group 2 Expressway Stakes. There was a lot of hype and a lot of talk about Jolie Star, but the money also came in big fashion for Magic Time, and it was Magic Time and Geordie Childs who proved too clever on the day, defeating Iona Merck. Jolie Star was back in third.
Farcically run, Shorty, this race. Now, if the official times are correct, they've gone out 37.55 for their first 600 and come home in 32.52. So they're absolutely dawdled in front. That pace was set by the ex-Irish horse, Give Me the Beat Boys. He didn't offer anything, he should have. Magic Time was good because she just had to wait and wait and wait. When the gap came, she burst through it. Jolly Star. Now, I know people are going to run around saying that she was 3 wide, no cover, and she was a bit keen early. Probably race not run to suit, but I would have thought with that soft tempo, she may be entitled to offer a bit more in the straight, guys. What did you think?
I just thought the race didn't pan out. I don't like it when they're pulling like that. So I just put forget the run for mine.
We forget the race because of the tempo?
Oh, no, because Magic Time, I think Magic Time's a real deal. So you can't forget the race, but I'd forget her run.
Yeah, I would say Magic Time tick. The rest of them completely inconclusive.
Yeah, and just on Anna Roper too, I think she got suspended, careless riding, so on Yorkshire, so she's out for a week. So she can sit back and enjoy the win.
Well, she could probably count a bit of money after the Saturday City result there and getting the job done on the fave. There would have been plenty of happy punters. On to race number 6 on the program, the Group 3 Triscay Stakes. It was Inhibitions. Karen McAvoy got the nice barrier this time around and cashed in on it, defeating Clear Thinking and Commemorative.
Yeah, some good runs here. Now, this was run at a pretty strong speed. We had Bonita Queen charging along in front, Springlee second, and Inhibitions got that tag, about 4 lengths off the lead, 4 or 5 lengths off the lead in third spot, in a good spot. Now, there was 2 good runs here, particularly Commemorative. She's a big, big mare. She doesn't like racing in between horses, and she got caught there yesterday, and she had a checkered run down the straight, and she finished off really well late. She is firmly in the black book. Clear Thinking was good coming from last. She had an unimpeded run down the outside, whereas Commemorative didn't. So I think both of them ran well, but I have a leaning there to Commemorative.
I'll go the other way. I'm a Clear Thinking fan. I thought it was a massive run. I know giving weight away and all that sort of thing, but yeah, huge. Barrows, if it draws a lid, reckon it wins. Light Fingers, well, put the writing on the wall here, Chris. Lady Shenandoah with the trial. She's been smoking.
Yep, she did. She had, and look, she's a Group 1 winner at start number 4. She looked beautifully placed in this race yesterday. Lady of Camelot was always going to be vulnerable late. Given a lovely run, cruised at the top of the straight for Zach Lloyd, let down, always had that race won. She'll go on and do better. Just on her, there's a horse that beat her twice, going back last season, I think it was. Her name is Clean Energy, and she's trained by Waterhouse Bot. And I've been waiting and waiting and waiting for her. And I can tell you guys, she's had a couple of trials recently, and she's nominated for a race, I know, on the 1st of March. So put Clean Energy in your black book. She beat Lady Shenandoah twice, early days. So there you go.
Jot that down, punters. Clean Energy. One to watch out for in the next little patch. And rounding it out with a Group 2 Apollo Stakes. Well, the betting had basically 3 chances in the race. Chell Wolf, along with Fangirl and Via Sistina. But for yesterday, it was Fangirl who, while the other 2 were to a degree, playing jockeys and making it a little bit tricky for each other. Fangirl was unimpeded with Jason Collett. He must have been giggling to himself, saying, "You two just keep on looking after each other. I'll grab the clear air and sneak away with the prize."
Yeah, and that's what you've got to do with her, Fangirl. Just got to let her settle early. Don't put her under any pressure, and she'll finish off for you. And she did. Look, 48.79 out, 33.39 home. Again, very softly run. So her sprint was electric to win, and we know she can do that first up. So she was really good here. Via Sistina now in a very awkward spot, in a pocket, and kept in that pocket by Chad Schofield on Chaywolf at the top of the straight, or early part of the straight. I think she was just as good. The last 200 metres, she lost no ground and probably made some on Fangirl. So take nothing away from her performance. Via Sistina, her aim, of course, is the Queen Elizabeth. So this is she's not fully wound up yet. She ran well. They might not beat her again this preparation. So winner was good. Via Sistina was good. Chaywolf lost no admirers either.
No, he was terrific. He was terrific. Just too short for him, no doubt about that. Yep. So horses to follow there at Randwick?
Definitely Commemorative, definitely Lady Shenandoah, and Via Sistina. So pretty obvious ones there, guys.
Okay, up Eagle Farm. You like the win of our benefactor. And
well, we spoke last week about Savour the Dream, winning for the Lannings and Martin Harley. Well, here we had another one yesterday in race 6, our benefactor. The Lannings again, Martin Harley rode. They're just like identical twins, these horses. They come out of the same trial. They had the same amount of starts. They are both very smart, and they're both heading to Sydney. This one, our benefactors are half to that good Hong Kong horse, Lucky Swain S. Is that the name of the one?
Yep.
Yeah, and cost plenty of money, our benefactor. So they got big plans for this one, and they got big plans for Savour the Dream. So watch those two horses going forward.
Well, listening to the call yesterday, I think David Fowler's got pretty big plans for our benefactor as well. Didn't he enjoy the victory?
I think he filled his wallet there with that.
Guilty. Our benefactor beat Rock the
That was him, guilty. Yeah, he was right up and about Chucky yesterday. That was great listening.
He was.
You know when he wins and you know when he loses, don't you, Chook? That's what I love about him.
Me too. He's a terrific caller. Plenty of emotion in those calls.
Big time. Anything for the punters today to have a wager on, Chris?
Yeah, we've got a meeting at Toowoomba today, 10 races. We'll just go with the one, a Tony Golan runner, race 7, number 4, Voracious. Interstate, now with Tony Golan, bolted in a recent trial, should be winning.
Like it, Toowoomba, race 7, number 4, Voracious this afternoon. Beautifully done, Chris O. Great catching up with you this morning. Enjoy your Sunday. We'll hear from you on TAB Radio on Wednesday with Digby and Tim on the Sports Daily.
Looking forward to it, guys. Enjoy your Sunday.
Just before you go, Chris, so we've got a text here off the Retrovision text line. This is from Mel. Jolie cost me $6,000 in a 9-leg multi for $10. So he's not a Jolie fan after yesterday. If I'd known that, Mel, I wouldn't have given it an excuse. There you go.
That's a bitter pill. That's a bitter pill.
That's racing. It's terrible to say, but unfortunately happens.
A lot. See you later.
Yeah, I know. Tell me.
Chris
Thanks,
Dawson,
guys.
he'll be on during the week. Make sure you tune into the Sports Daily. About to catch up with Racetrack Ralphy. The text line's up and about. Here's one, Shorty. Any extra super picks for Bunbury today?
Let me have a quick look, Marty. That's a good question. We've got no dice, just the daily super pick today.
Okay, 11 away from 7. Racetrack Ralphy, a very good morning.
Good morning, boys. Yeah, unfortunately, we had a wet track at Flemington yesterday. The rain sort of came from nowhere, but all honours went to Mitch Freedman getting Skybird to turn up and come to play. And I don't know what the odds would have been about none of those colts running a place, but they didn't.
No, they didn't. And it was a funny one. I had a discussion with Tim Walker about this on Friday morning, and I said, gee, there's a lot of horses that aren't the 3-year-olds in this race that have been working well, and we just discussed it with Mitch Freedman, that we knew Skybird was going well, Stretton Angel was going well, Benedetta was flying, even Traffic Warden Marzu was going good. So in many ways, it wasn't a surprise that one of those type of horses did win this race.
Well, the hard thing was Switzerland, and of course we are being hindsight, but that's part of the caper.
Yep.
Switzerland we knew was a star, but he was a star third up off a big second up win. So that was where he peaked, and it was at 1,200. So the old 1,000-metre horses, 1,000-metre races thing was in play. And at that stage, when we were doing our thoughts on Friday, we weren't expecting the wet ground. Growing Empire, we know I think he... don't
know about him.
He thinks about things a bit. Yeah. I think he's the classic case. They've got to get to the fork in the road with him, because he might be worth a lot if he can win a Group 1, but he mightn't win a Group 1 while still a colt. Traffic Warden, perfect. I thought that was just the perfect return for the. It was the cylinder of this year, the Dominic Byrne theory that, and he of course is Godolphin's form man. He is you run well in a Lightning, and then you peak in a Newmarket, which they successfully executed last year. But the mares were all good, as you said. And one thing that we tend to learn about is that good mares can improve later than colts or geldings. More to the point, I don't know what it is, but they can keep improving into their 4 and 5 and sometimes 6-year-old season, and those 3 were all good quality mares.
Indeed, and Ralphie, the point we made with Mitch, it was very noticeable to the eye, just the instant acceleration. Once Johnny Allen sort of clicked up Skybird, it was almost like he was going to need a neck brace, a Cheezel to stop the whiplash. It was so quick was the acceleration from Skybird, the way that it put the race away.
100%, and again, you go to hindsight and you try and look at what the market missed, and first up last prep, 1,200 Flemington. It was on almost a similar weather day, the Turnbull last year. And conditions. It was at 1,200, but it was a very real performance. I mean, it was a nose between Arkansas Kid and Blindness Notches, who were both, real good, borderline Group 1 sprinters. So it was a very real performance first up. The thing was, she did it at 1,000, and as you said, it was just a coiled spring explosion late.
Yep. What about the first? Revelaro just continues to impress. And, gee, he shouldn't have been able to do this, should he? A normal horse should not have been able to win from where he was in the run in this race, the way the race has been run.
No, I was on very good terms with myself. The Kings Valley's a beautiful each-way play here because, the kid could get in trouble, and as it was, he got in trouble. And by the way, and I just want to firmly say this, I don't think he did anything wrong. Just sometimes, the wave can come around you, and he did. And actually, more to the point, when he was in that position, he didn't panic and had faith in the horse was going to be good enough underneath him. Got himself a little week and a half holiday for knocking J-Mac out the road, and don't think any punter would be disappointed with that. So he's really good, and he's just on the way up. So I heard post-race Rob Hickmott said he was going to set him for just another benchmark race in Simla. He'll probably win that and go to the paddock, and then they'll dream big. Kings Valley, I think it can win in a similar situation next start. But by now the track 205 meant they walked and there were savage headwinds as well. So it's just one of the horses to follow from the winners with a bit of confidence is Revelari.
Indeed. On to race number 2, the listed 2-year-old Talon Stakes. Dead heat between Shining Smile and Tentris. Brave Design was third, sort of Legacy in fourth, but interesting race. The top couple slugged it out and couldn't be split.
Yeah, and 106.5. I think you could carry me, Shorty, and then go similar on a good track. So they were out their feet, the 2-year-olds. I think Brave Design has got a little bit of ability. He was let off the chain here a bit and chased hard, and Blessin, a very, very funny man, sent me a text message saying that probably going to need blinkers. And he didn't turn up from his barrier trial, so he has got ability, but he didn't turn up yesterday.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he's shitty. He's so much better than that. Something wrong. But, yeah, we might have to wait for the goggles to go on. That is for sure, for Jeffrey. Race number 3, it was Road to Arataki. Now, how bad was Fancify here? Road to Arataki sat outside of it and blitzed it, and it was a good win. Good to see Dean Yendall winning in town.
That's right. You couldn't knock Road to Arataki, and you couldn't be happy with Fancify given the race structure. I guess the
wind.
The wind, wet track, and it was very, very different circumstances to Melbourne Cup Day, which was a nice firm day and the leaders track. So, but also the nagging doubt is sometimes those horses when they get that short spell and it had 88 days off before a big first up run, that maybe that's as good as they can go. So that was my nagging doubt about the race. Miraval Rose, who trains that? I can't quite find who trains it, but out the back, and Craig had to go back due to the conditions. You couldn't be outside the lead yesterday, so I think it's going to run big. And Molly Bloom's in for a big prep. I think Chris Waller's got it right. I would put it as one of the horses to follow with a bit of confidence tomorrow. From that, rather.
Indeed. Race number 4. This was over the mile, and we saw Smokin' Princess prevail for Tommy Preble. Patrick and Michelle Payne doing some nice things, and it's a stable worth following.
Yeah, absolutely. And this had a terrific prep. Tommy Preble, last start, went forward on a brutally fast race, and yesterday, with 3 weeks between runs, went back due to the conditions and got the money again. I think Ghetto Superstar being a nose behind it gives you an indication of where that was at, under the conditions, etc. But Aramco, first up, like Molly Bloom, I think it's in for a good prep too for Chris Waller.
Race 5, the long lunch. Bossy Nick splits them and finishes the race off really impressively to win.
Well, it did, and it handled the conditions. Again, you've got a roughie and tight of choice who could handle the ground and better further, so it gives you an indication. 112.4. It was very wet conditions. This horse won a wet track at Caulfield last year, so a couple you might be able to forgive from the race, but I think it's a hard race to stamp going forward.
All right, on to race number 6, the listed Elms Handicap over the 1,400 metres. Rise at Dawn, successful, great ride from Mickey D, but gee, the West Aussie was good, Aztec Ruler. Yeah.
He was, and he got the right circumstance yesterday, being able to, be ridden with a bit of cover, get back, work through your gears. So, I think there was a little issue post the EIPH or something. So I dare say it didn't affect him in the race because he's run to his best. Rise of Dawn, look, on a day where you really had to be fit to run to your best, and if you look at these turning circle races once the conditions turned, so many horses in the finish were fit. Rise of Dawn was first up, and they wanted to back it hard. So I think it's in for a monster prep, Rise of Dawn. I don't think we can put a ceiling on him yet. He's a winner, and the boys have got him spot on.
I agree with that. On to race number 7, the CS Hayes. It was Sepples for Cliff Brown and Blake Shin.
Well, if you took that on face value and you just looked at it, you'd think it's a moral in the Australian Guineas. I'm certainly not saying it can't win, but I just want to underline the theme of the day is you had to be race fit. They flew here, and this horse was having its fourth run, first prep. Maybe that was its grand final, and a horse like Henline could really improve on a good track. Freedman's are just such masters at peaking in grand finals, but it was very, very impressive yesterday. But I'd keep Nadola and Henline on side if we get different circumstances. Even Feroci was first up yesterday. So, as I said, on face value, you think, well, this is going to be the Australian Guineas winner. I'm not saying it won't be, but I'm just saying it might be a different circumstance on a firm track with horses fitter in a couple of weeks.
All right, on to race number 9, the listed desirable stakes for the 3-year-old fillies. Chiller Cap with Craig Williams aboard, defeating Huskin's Sneaky Sunrise.
Yeah, well, Huskers absolutely walked in front, so it handled wet ground, so it was able to hang on and at big odds and nearly caused the upset. Chiller Cap's done a good job. It's been racing for a while. I'm not going to put the ceiling on this table, but I think Sneaky Sunrise is the horse we can follow with a bit of confidence there. They missed the spring with it. They've got it right. There was a bit of money for it, and for it to run as well as it did first up is a horse you want to really follow with a bit of confidence through the prep.
How about in the last, Billy Egan, Daniel Bowman combined with Is It Me?
Yeah, this was a fun watch. We put a big stamp on him after its last win, and he gets back the same track and distance. And the one thing that it really identified from its last win, it just needs to have his runs a little spaced. He was flat at Pakenham off a booming Ballarat run, and now I think Daniel Bowman now accepts that's the way to have him. 3 minimum, maybe 4 to 5 weeks between runs, and he'll keep winning. Horses to follow from the meeting with a fair bit of confidence: Revelare and Rise at Dawn, and those who got beaten. Traffic Warden's going to run boldly in the Newmarket, Sneaky Sunrise, and back to race 3, Molly Bloom.
Love it, Ralphy. Racetrackralphy.com.au. The punters, you can head there for all of the latest from our man Racetrack Ralphy. And watch out for Swanee and Friends as well later on in the week, one of the fine podcasts that Racetrack Ralphy puts together. Ralphy, you have yourself a wonderful Sunday. Thanks as always for your time here on The Aftermath.
Good on you, boys. Have a great week.
Racetrack Ralphy at racetrackralphy.com.au is our man there, counting down to the news at 7 o'clock. Brad Hardie will be up first up after the news. Courtney Walsh, hopefully Indiana Wynert, and Steve Withers will round out our next hour.
On The Aftermath, it's time to introduce the 1985 Brownlow medalist from the Footscray Football Club, Brad Hardie. Introducing the boy from Hilton, the AFL guru, Brad Hardie.
Good morning, Bradley.
Morning, Marty. Good morning, Shorty. Good to be with us, Shorty. That was a Texan playing at the card tables in a casino when Kerry Packer wanted to toss him for his wealth, 100 million. So, yeah. And I always recall, G. Hall's got some great stories. He's got some rippers about that when Major Drive won a lead-up race to the Sydney Cup, and he got a very nice drink out of that, Marty. And then they were backing up to try and win the Sydney Cup, and G thought he was going to be in for another slice, but I think Kerry had backed my card that day.
Yeah.
And lost. So no prize for G. No prize for G Hall.
Hey,
and the other little quick one I can tell you, Jeff Fennick.
Yes.
When he was in Las Vegas fighting Azuma Nelson, killing a bit of time, and Peter Matrevsky was with him, his little sidekick. And they went up to Kerry and said, "How you going, Kerry?" And he said, "I'm going well, boys. What are you blokes doing?" He said, "Oh, we're just a bit bored." He said, "Well," he just reached forward, Shorty, and he got a stack of chips in the left hand and a stack of chips in the right hand and just put it straight over his shoulder. And he said, "Go and have some fun." So anyway, Jeff did, and Peter Matrevsky ran straight up into his room, Shorty. Now, this is in the 80s. Yeah. He counted it, 280,000.
Whoa. Wowee. That is
Peter bought his first house with the money when he got home.
That's extraordinary. Some proper generosity right there.
Yeah, wowee. Hey, Brad, first off, last night here at Optus Stadium, what did you think of the match?
Yeah, we had a bit of trouble seeing it, boys, because I don't know if it happened in the West, but we certainly had it wasn't coming down the line. It just kept re-looping back onto the Essendon and Bulldogs game on Foxtel here. So I was watching the scores go along, and we got a little bit of a lot of the second half, which was good. But, yeah, it was to be expected. Terrific effort, good promotion. What was it, Shorty, 37,000 people there, which was
big
great.
Big turnout, just under 38,000.
Yeah. Yeah, well, as you'd expect, and saw some of the luminaries. I was getting pictures of Stephen Michael and quite a few others that were in I saw Magic McLean on there at the end in the presentation, which was great. So, yeah, well done. It was a nice little hit out, but hopefully it was pretty much bruise-free footy other than for poor old Switkowski, who's got concussion, and that's not what you want. And that was my biggest wish there, Marty, last night, is to be entertained and no one get hurt. I think they did it pretty well, and they got it done, and I want to do it every couple of years now. The question is, what do they want to do every other year? You know, could they now look at maybe doing some sort of state of origin or something? You know, because the weekend's going to be free every second year. So a big success for everybody.
Even if they did the best, the 50 best young talents for potentially next year's draft and gave them an early hit out. Like, just do something early on in the season that's a highlight and gives people a chance. A couple of things to come out of the game, regardless of the result. And as you said, great that the game's been played with minimal impact to players. Johnson with a right leg minor issue there. Switkowski concussion, and Walker, he's going to have a pretty sore nose for a few days, but nothing too major to come out of it. Listening to the Indigenous boys and watching them there last night, Brad, people sometimes underestimate how close they are and how important the brotherhood is for a lot of the Indigenous players, and seeing how much it meant to them there last night, and a lot of these players who are generally quite shy sort of characters, how they come out of their shell with their brothers around them. I thought it was really special, and I think it was 10 years between games. I don't think the AFL, seeing what it meant to these guys and how good it is for that community, will wait another 10 years for it to happen again.
No, you're right. And I think Fremantle are on board with this, because the AFL are pushing really, really strongly. They tried to do it the last 5 or 6 years, Marty. You and I talked about this some time ago, but they wanted it roughly around about 10% of Indigenous boys on each club list, which would give them a pretty healthy, repertoire in the game, and it was going all right. And some years there was 80, closer to 90, and it slipped back a little bit because the pathways have struggled. I thought Western Australia was still doing it well with Clontarf and Stephen Michael Foundation and a few others, but apparently no, and they've lost their pathway a little bit. There's a hell of a lot of talented young boys, particularly up the north, Shorty, who are just reluctant to leave home and get them down there. A few get through, get lucky enough to go to a college down here like Morris Rioli Jr. did, a school which is a footballing school. Yeah, so they're trying to get the numbers back up, and I hope they can, because they're extremely talented. We know that. You only have to watch them, and they've got an instinct for the game, and their fleet of foot and their tricks and all of that sort of stuff. And, yeah, hopefully they can build that up. And that's what it was all about last night. And I think it brought it right to the fore. Hey, geez, if you put all this talent together, what can they do? But, people started to get a little bit over the top, going to 20th licences, and we need one more. Maybe we need it down in Bunbury. Maybe we need it somewhere. But of course the NTFL, they want one sometime in the not too distant future, but they've got to get over Tasmania first.
Now, you mentioned that game between Essendon and the Western Bulldogs. Did you watch much of that? I see Swan District's product Tom Edwards kicking 4 goals.
Yeah, absolutely. I asked Mark Harvey about 10 days ago how he was going. He said he's going terrific. So, and then he said, you'll see him in the game against the Dogs. I said, all right, well, I'll wait for that. And when he turned it on, he went really well. So, Caddy was really good for Essendon. So was Cooko. So they had a little bit going on. The Dogs, I've got to say, were very much undermanned. They had quite a few out, and particularly very young after half time. But that doesn't matter. I mean, it's only conditioning. It's really conditioning, as I call it, Shorty, as you know, dancing with your sister, because it's never going to go anywhere. It's part of the you want to dance with the prettiest girl in the room. Might have to dance with your sister first. So from that point of view, it was a good hit out. It was a good sellout there. Not that you fit many in there down at the doggy land now, the kennel. It's all sort of built up and built out now. So. Now you'd be happy, Marty. It's just a good step up straight away, and a few of the young boys for Essendon were very, very good, and some of the doggies kids were all right as well, including a kid called Davidson went all right. He played on a wing, half forward, so he did pretty well. And there was another young fella by the name of Josh Dolan who also did pretty well. So from that point of view, I think Essendon and the Bulldogs got a little bit out of it.
Yeah, well, one man in particular for the Doggies that there was much hype around him last year. He probably didn't get the game time that many were expecting, but he's worked hard in the off-season, and I think most are expecting a really big year from Riley Sanders on what we've seen in the pre-season, Brad.
Yeah. He stripped down about 7 kilos, and that's hard. That's not easy to do because he wasn't a heavy kid. He wasn't a chunky bunker anyway, but he was a little Scotty Waters. That's what he looked like. You know, he looked a little like Scotty Waters. You know.
Yep.
And he scurried across the ground, but he's looking a lot leaner. He's really worked on himself. He's got an opportunity. Obviously, without Bailey Smith there now, not that he was in his way last year because he was injured, but, Treloar's on the sidelines for a little while now. So they need someone to go in and support Bontempelli and Liberatore in there. And you'd say Ed Richards will be one. You think that he could be another one, Shorty, and probably Kennedy that they got from Carlton will be another one. So there's a few options there, but at least the midfield's starting to look a little bit more deeper with him up and about.
Okay, Lisa of Allenbrook has opened up the betting on that Retrovision text line for Group 1 Morts. And joy, flair and fun is what the All-Stars showed last night against the Dockers in front of a great crowd. And I think it should be played every year, alternating with the Eagles, and the crowds will build year after year. Hope that game last night has given Tim Kelly the spark he needed and his love of the game back. Guys, feedback from Freo fans on air after the game. They're not happy. Brad, AFL new drug rule proposal has been well accepted. We've all been calling for a change. What's your thoughts, please? Take care. Have a great week. Lisa of Allenbrook.
Yeah, well, the only proposal, and just put that up there, Lisa, the only proposal, the AFL Players Association won't go for it. So there's still a long way to go. They want to become a little bit more firmer. They want to have a little bit more knowledge of people in and around, and not so much name and shame, but certainly other people have to be alerted. And these things aren't going to stay in-house like they have been up till this point. So they're a little bit worried about that. I dare say they're going to have a little bit of trouble getting over the line with the AFLPA, but it's good. At least the AFL are on the front foot and looking to try and do something anyway.
What about the reaction? And you were telling me this, Shorty, on socials, and again, Lisa brought it up. It must have been on PR last night or whatever, that the Docker fans or fans are reacting to the Dockers' performance last night. They're kidding, aren't they? Well, what's all that about? Brad?
Well, I assume I got no idea. I didn't hear them, obviously, but I could imagine. I think they probably thought they were going along to see a Docker win. From that point of view, because one thing you didn't know about the Indigenous boys was opposition analysis, how they were going to do it. You wouldn't have thought there was going to be much team defence or much whatever it was. It was going to be football's version of T20 cricket, and you got that and a little bit more. So I would have thought the only thing I was looking for last night, and the bits and pieces that I saw, particularly the second half, as I said, we didn't get the feed properly here, was the fact that I thought Fremantle would look good on the counter-attack, the turnover, and that's a big key indicator, isn't it, boys? Essendon scored 8 goals, 5 from turnovers, that's why I thought they would be better, because you'd get a little indication of exactly what they've got in mind, because you can't do anything in scrimmaging and match simulation. Everybody knows what's going on.
Yeah.
So it always looks good, but at least you got some sort of bona fide opposition last night, and you thought, well, once the ball turns over, surely Fremantle will show us a little bit of how they're going to transfer the ball from back to forward, Shorty, and get it into Amos and Tracy and those sort of blokes. That just didn't seem to appear for whatever reason. So well done to the Indigenous boys. They really turned it on. And they won the game handsomely. And Fremantle, I wouldn't be losing any sleep about it. They've got quite a few to come back in. But, as I say, it is what it is. It was an exhibition game, so don't lose too much sleep.
About fitness and match practice. And I'm always very, very sceptical on any pre-season form. For me, it's about getting miles into the legs, getting your players ready. But you're not going to divulge all of your secrets without premiership points on the line. And Justin Longmuir actually came out post-match and said the Dockers deliberately played a vanilla brand of football so as to not give away too many secrets with a different game style in the works for round one. That would make sense. Why would you want to come to the table and wheel out all of your aces for a pre-season game? It makes zero sense. So I wouldn't panic. Freo fans wouldn't be panicking.
Shorty, you, Marty, and I could pick a pretty darn good team of guys who've played really well in the scratch matches and don't back it up in the home and away.
Wouldn't get a kick in Burley's, half of them.
It's one of my goes. Put in a very good pre-season, then you wouldn't find me for the rest of the year. Not as good as the late, great Billy Halligan, though. He was one of the best pre-season men you'd ever see. He would light it up, and then about round one, you couldn't find him. He'd be gone.
We had a guy, I won't name him because he's a terrific little bloke, and he was a runner. And we used to go up to, what's that hill that Barry Cable used to run up, Shorty? It's just escaped me.
Heartbreak Hill.
It's up in the hills there somewhere. Anyway, this bloke used to win all the time trials, and he beat Cable's record going up this hill, and et cetera, et cetera. Mate, brought the footies out, couldn't draw you one. Could not draw you one.
Should have been in the athletics team.
Hey, now, Snoz has been very busy, so let's work through these. First off, sorry to ask this question, Brett. Last year you were all over AFL club doctors. Has this changed now that Jamara Ugle-Hagan is away from football due to personal reasons, or is it more than that?
Don't know what that means, but anyway, the bottom line is, no, Jamara's a long way off. Don't worry about that. Look, I'm sitting adjacent to the Western Bulldogs. I'm not speaking on their behalf at all, but yeah, he's got a long, long way to go. And I smelled a PR drive all of this weekend from him being doorstopped by Channel 7, I think it was, over here en route to going over there to be involved. That's all good. The quotes that were attributed to him through the press in regards to how healthy and felt fantastic and can't wait to get back to training next week. Well, there's an issue here, and I will divulge that he hasn't showed up to the training sessions. He's occasionally, and there's been footage of him doing boxing. There's been footage of him in the weights room, but it's not consistent. It's not consistent. He's a mile off. So from that point of view, he's not going to walk straight back in the doors. A lot of boxes to be ticked before he can come back. But, hopefully, as Lisa said with Tim Kelly, I don't know why you'd have to come together with all the brothers to rediscover the love for your game, but he's the same. He's just got to work harder. You can't be the UFC one week, Perth the next week, and expect to walk back in and think nothing's wrong.
Okay, Snoz number 2, Marty. Everyone holds Neville Parnham as a very good trainer and good guy, but he must have nerves of steel watching his 3 sons day in, day out riding racehorses with this the only occupation when you have to be followed by an ambo. Hoping Brad is okay. Agree with that, Snoz. I feel even more for Caroline because Neville has ridden horses. He knows what it is to ride in races. And Caroline, of course, comes from that Webster family. She's well versed in it as well. But, yeah, as parents with jockeys, you'd hold your breath every time they go around, wouldn't they?
Big time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, again, just not saying, speaking out of school, G. Hall, when his young bloke Nick was riding, I said, did you get more nervous when you were riding? I said, no, watching. He said, and contact sports too is the other one too, Shorty, I'm sure. You know, I mean, cricket's not so bad, but certainly Australian rules football, it's a 360 game, and you've got a young bloke backing back into a pack, and Tony Lockett's coming out a million miles an hour. Of course, you hold your breath. You're holding your breath every minute of the game. Don't worry about that.
Big time.
Here's one here. Hey, boys, I used to own Summer's Touch. Now, when she won the Winter 3-year-olds in the 2013 Belmont Guineas in the Belmont Oaks, I said to 5 of my mates, if she goes on and wins the Belmont Classic, making it 3 straight, I'll take you and your wives airfares and accommodation paid to Phuket for 10 days. The rest is history. Great holiday. We all had a good time. No other 3-year-old to date has won 3 straight, so she still holds the record.
Nev.
So there you go. That's
that
one.
would be Nev. Summer's Touch, yeah. Good on you, Nev. Gee, that is generous.
Yeah. Another one in 1989, my friend and I played blackjack at the casino next to Merv Hughes. He got quite merry and we all won a bucketful. Merv gave us around $500 in chips each and then went on to take a hat trick against the West Indies the next day. I was there that day.
Yeah, it was a surprise hat trick, the one that snuck up on everyone.
Yeah, and I always wondered how he turned up when he had a skinful the night before. Well, look, you put those carbs in, right, particularly a game like cricket. I used to watch Ian Botham sometimes, and you could tell he'd had the biggest night ever, and he'd go out and just bowl and bat like a superstar that he was.
Oh, yeah.
Batting.
Well, Doug Walters was on the rub-down table at the Wacker that day with a hangover. and he had to go into bat and got 100 in a session.
In a session.
Unbelievable. Just thinking I'll get this over and done with. Just go, and next thing you know,
and then he had another session.
Yeah, went again. Yeah, that's the truth. Over the years, I think every cricketer at some stage has found themselves having one or two too many the night before. Batting was something that you can seemingly sort of dig in and get it done, but I will say, as a fast bowler, not advisable to be having very large evenings and then go and try and bowl 15 or 20 overs the next day on a day that's 35 plus. But the batting side of it, certainly most people were able to get away with over the years. But some great punting stories. Love hearing these. Yeah. Love hearing them.
Hey, Frank, he's disagreeing with you from Queen's Park. Shorty, you believe what Longmire's saying about his new game plan? He's no good. How long does he has to coach before you can see it?
Oh, Frank, it's a pre-season game, brother. Wait till round 5 or 6 you can come and hit me up and slap me and smack me. Look, this is, to be fair, I'll be 100% honest. We need to see how good Justin Longmuir is this year. I'm not putting my hand up saying he's a messiah by any means. This is his year. He's got one of the best lists in the AFL. They're very talented. This is the list that Freo have been working towards and hoping for a really long period of time. But the game's not played on a piece of paper. It's played on the park. He needs to have the right game plan. He needs to have synergy. And quite simply, Frank, if they don't deliver this season, I don't think Justin Longmuir will be there, and he'll walk out of the door having achieved 0. So I'm not arguing with what you're saying in regards to what he has done, but you'd be a pretty silly coach if you went out there and put all your cards on the table in a pre-season game, is what I would say to you.
Yeah, it gets very emotional in a pre-season game, that's for sure. It's an emotional roller coaster week in, week out. I mean, we're all sitting back. I mean, and he's not the only one. I mean, there's quite a few. The one thing you've got to have, and that's the good thing about Luke Beveridge, he's fearless. I was saying to Marty on Friday, he's fearless in regards to, he knows it could end up losing his job at the end of the season if they don't perform. So, but he's not going to change his thought processes and how he wants to go about it. Whereas some coaches who get in that situation, and I'd say Matthew Nix would be one, Justin Longmuir would be another one, Brad Scott at Essendon even. You know, they have these plans and they go for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, shite plan, change plan, you know, and that's what brings them undone. So it's the longer view that they've got to retain this year, and as you say, Shorty, halfway through the year we'll know who's tracking well and who ain't tracking well. And put it this way, from and to help Frank out a little bit, last year Fremantle were third with 4 weeks to play and didn't win a game and missed out completely. So you can never count your chickens before they hatch.
Geez, you fight your old mate Chris Acomo sent one in here as well.
Let him go. Come on, fire him in. Get him going. You know what I love about it? It means footy season's just about on our doorstep. Boys, this is it's the passion, it's the rev, it's the fizz.
Correct.
We're not even at round 1 and I'm already blowing stacks. It's beautiful.
Now, Bradley, tell us about yesterday. I didn't mind that run of Skyhook first up.
Yeah, very good, very good. It's even better than it looks. I mean, that was Shaggy. There was a nice tip for Shaggy. Don't worry about that. Poor old Aaron Bullock. How did he not make the weight? Seriously, I mean, Adam Hieronymus said, "Oh, thank you very much." And they broke 1-3, Shorty, I reckon. So they ran home in 33. So to be 6 or 7 lengths off them, and get as close as they did. Now, Gerald was really, really pleased with the run of Skyhook, and I dare say, in a more pressurised up front than it was, 1,200, possibly even a 1,400 of a size, right up his alley there.
What about a Sunday saviour for today, Brad?
Yes, we need one today. We've got to get one. We sort of, because we got all the champions beat yesterday. So, Benella,
hang on.
Not all.
Were you with Kieran? Were you with Kieran a couple of times yesterday?
Kieran who?
McAvoy.
Kieran who? Kieran, yeah. Kieran who? Yeah, let's just get Jolie start a reef and tear its head off. Just drop it out the back, mate, and let them round it up. Seriously.
I said to Shorty yesterday, I reckon within a minute, I was waiting for the text. You let me down. I said, there's going to be one coming from McAvoy here, surely.
And then Via Sistina, seriously, come on. Anyway, that doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. We'll get our money back somewhere along the line. Benalla, race 6, number 7, Track Chiller. That's us. That's CHILLER. $3.20 there, Marty.
Yep.
And then we'll get a double down at Dubbo. Race 6, number 2, Zubuti, $2.30. And race 7, number 5, Chico Casino. Funny, we're talking about Packet, $2.40. So track Chiller, race 6, number 7 at Benalla, $3.20. Dubbo, race 6, number 2, Zubuti at $2.30. And race 7, number 5, Chico Casino at $2.40. That's $17.66 there, boys.
What about Group 1 Maud's and Lanes 1, 2, 3? Tell us about that.
Outstanding, Maud's. He's flying. He's got those 2024 great model TVs going out the door, Shorty, 100 miles an hour. Marty's already been in and bought two from the Ellenbrook store, because that's how he does it. That's for sure. And you've got the nude nut, because let's face it, we might be getting a rate cut in next month or really soon in the next couple of weeks. So you still want to manage your funds. 1-800-100-100. They can do things the banks can't. So get in and see them. Don't forget Frankie Lee, by the way.
Frankie Lee.
Ross's oxen. He's an absolute beauty, Frankie. He's batting out of his weight, but that's aren't we all?
Oh, that's the truth.
I get that every night.
Oh, yes, indeed. And Marty with the TV.
Like the old VB ad, remember? We'll all be on it.
All batting hard, that's for sure. Marty with the TVs like John Candy used to be at the smorgasbord buffet. One for you and one for me.
Exactly.
One for you and one for me.
I've already sold 2 of them online. It's the best work ever, this is. I'm telling you, I'm onto something. I just want to say, too, to people out there, this Perth Festival, I was showing Shorty some photos of it. The old Gasworks, you know where that is, Brad?
Yes, absolutely.
Opposite Belmont Park, across the river.
Park, yep.
They've done that you've got another 3 weeks of it. It is absolutely sensational. You sit out there with the family. The bands are playing for free. Last night we were watching everyone leaving Optus Stadium and walking past, and so many of them come in. It costs you nothing. It's on Wednesday through to Sunday, and family-friendly, cheap. Pizzas for $20, $10 for a beer and $10 for a spirit and mix, wine. Fantastic. Get out there, avail yourself, because we've got another 3 weeks. These warm summer nights, it's magnificent. Awesome. So get the family out there. You're just looking over the Swan. You couldn't ask for a better spot. So there's a free plug. Awesome, Basil saw me there last night. He said, you've got to give this a push.
Beautiful. Be on you, Baz.
Ben White was there. G'day, Ben. How's things, mate?
Excellent. Get around it, punters.
All right, boys.
See you,
have a great day.
All
Good
the
luck.
best.
Happy punting.
Thank you, Bradley.
Sunday morning, we will do the talking on the Aftermath with Marty Young and David Shortte on Tab Radio Racing and Sport.
Very good morning, Courtney Walsh.
Good morning, gents. I'm hoping all is well in WA. It's
beautiful over here. Beautiful.
9 degrees in Melbourne.
Ooh. Yeah, you had a
middle of February.
Licorice all sorts yesterday, wasn't it? Wowee.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been made for some easy riding at Flanagan, I've got to say.
No, and wasn't
the
there
breeze, the
wind,
hot stuff,
the rain,
hot stuff through the week?
Oh, yeah, it was 38s and everything during the week. Just had to change.
I was playing the annual Tennis Victoria Country Week, which is a tremendous event in Swan Hill, and we were playing near 40 on the Thursday and got home on the Friday, and it was, about mid-teens.
That's crazy.
I kid you not. Once I was over there and I had to go to Hayes' stable at Flemington and then to Moonee Valley night meeting. Stock Stakes night it was. Pins won it. And I was in a suit. It was 40 degrees when I'm at Flemington. By the end of the night at Moonee Valley, it was pouring at about 8.
Wow. In a day.
In a day.
In a day.
I remember the cab driver said, "Oh, mate, I was driving into the valley," and he said, "Oh, no, there's a change coming through Geelong, mate. It's going to be raining and cold soon." I said, "Oh, yeah, knock it off, champ." Wow.
30-degree flip.
The cab driver.
30-degree flip, very quick. Now, speaking of change of temperature in the room, that's exactly what ended up happening across there in Sri Lanka. Aussies completely dominant, winning the 2 test matches. You changed the format, the white ball, changed the teams around, and Sri Lanka are absolutely smoking up the Aussies, and now the Champions Trophy's on, and Australia's squad's looking pretty lean.
Yeah, I think a lot relies on the batters in the Champions Trophy as to whether we'll have any success or not. Talk about stinking it up. To have that record win in the first test in Gaul and then to have a record loss to barely scramble beyond 100 in the second ODI during the week. Stark contrast, and our record in Champions Trophies in recent editions is pretty poor. We haven't actually won a match going back to 2009, so a lot can happen, I think, in a short period of time in Australian cricket. I wouldn't write them off as yet, but that certainly was not a great lead-in. And even going back to that fantastic World Cup campaign in 2023 where they won in India after dropping the first couple of matches. Since then, we've been a very mediocre team in ODIs. We lost to Pakistan in November. We lost we might have just edged England in an ODI sort of series as well, but we're about 50-50 in terms of winning matches since that World Cup campaign. And I think we've used 25 players in that period. So it's very hard to get a settled lineup leading into the Champions Trophy.
So what is it? What is it about the white ball game?
Well, I think in part the timing of the series has had an impact in terms of what we've done. Leading into that, the Pakistan series was quite a lot of criticism, obviously, when we didn't have a full-strength team in Perth for that ODI leading into the Ashes the Border Gavaskar against India. So that's part of it, the timing. The tail end of what's been a very big summer. Probably not surprised that we've got bowlers who are not ready to compete after what's been a really heavy workload. So that's part of it. But also, I think we're just trying to find, again, it's probably the post-Warner era, while he was polarising in some parts, at least you always had him at the top of the order. The blokes who have gone in and tried to replace him, Matt Shortte and Jake Fraser-McGurk, haven't really fired at international level. And that's, if your top order's not firing, well then the pressure builds through the middle. And just in terms of the bowlers, it's a completely different bowling outfit. If you've got Nathan Ellis leading up the attack, Spencer Johnson, Adam Zampa hasn't been very good in Sri Lanka, surprisingly. He did take one wicket, but our spinners were carted, basically, I think 1 for 121 or so in the last ODI. So, we were just a less effective attack there. So the top of the order is a bit suspect, and our bowlers are less effective.
Yeah, different conditions too, obviously, there in the subcontinent than to what we've been playing on. And I think the reality of world cricket as it sits now over a 12-month period, Walsh, is that there's that much cricket on, you almost have to prioritise where you want to have access to your absolute elite A-grade talent. And clearly, the Aussies wanted to have that through the Aussie Test summer up against India. They placed a high price on making sure that they were in the Test Championship, which they will, again, want to be peaking for that period of time in a few months' time for that particular Test match. And again, with the Ashes on this upcoming summer, on top of the list is Australia playing really well through that period. So when that is the case, you sometimes have to cop the odd dip in form when these other tournaments are on and you don't necessarily place the same priority on them.
Without a doubt. And look, the one thing is going into this trophy, in our group we have England in Lahore next Saturday, we have South Africa and we have Afghanistan to round it out. Now, England's not in great form either in the white ball format. South Africa's not necessarily been firing either in the white ball format. So we're actually in a group where, look, Afghanistan could well be the giant killers. They have shown before, particularly on turning decks and slower decks in the subcontinent, they can be dangerous. They could really be the giant killers like they were in the T20 World Cup for us, sort of in the West Indies. So but it is a group where even if we're not playing that well at the moment, if we find some form and if you've got Travis Head and Steve Smith in the team, Josh Inglis, I think, bats for. Carey was good in that first one dayer and didn't play in the second. We have got the batting talent to put a target or to set a target or to run down a target. So I wouldn't rule us out. But priorities, absolutely. We want to win that World Test Championship in June. We've got 3 tests in the West Indies after that, and then we have the Ashes. So no doubt that's where the big boys will be. The champion pacemen will be aiming their ambitions at that.
Let's switch to tennis and headlines in the Fin Review. Sad day for tennis. Players slam Sinner's 3-month doping ban.
Yeah, interesting timing. A few different factors at play there. I have no doubt both parties have sat down and decided that a loss for either would be bad. For WADA, if you have a player if you have someone who can blame a positive test on a team, well, then that opens water up to all manner of things. How do they even penalise an athlete again if the athlete can say, well, I didn't know this, it was my team that was doping me. So there's a real issue there for WADA. Had it gone all the way through and the Sinner team had won, for Sinner, it's far from ideal, but if he'd lost that case, it's 1 to 2 years. I think both parties reading it thinking, there's no certainty as to whether they can win from either side. And so this is where we've settled 3 months. The timing is not ideal, clearly, given it's come just after an Australian Open, which he's won and won in dominant fashion. And it does free him up for the French Open.
Yeah.
There's some criticism. There is some criticism as to, it's in a meaningless part of the season. There's no slams in this part of the season, but it's not meaningless in terms of there are still some big events. The Indian Wells, the Miami Open, and a couple of big clay court masters. So I would be surprised if he returns to world number one. I think by the time we get to when he gets back onto the court, Alexander Zverev will probably be the world number one player. And that in itself raises another question because Zverev will get to number one without having won a Grand Slam title, which, it's never a great look. So I think there's black eyes all around. Black eye for tennis, black eye for Sinner, and a black eye for WADA, who clearly decided we haven't got quite enough to get this guy properly. And if we lose, it could well open the Pandora's box in terms of every other athlete trying to challenge. So, pretty bleak. I can understand how they've arrived at this situation. And I also, clearly they've stated that Sinner wasn't aware. They accept that he wasn't aware. They accept that it had minimal impact on his performance, if any at all. But still a pretty bad look for all parties involved.
Yeah, just on X, so Nick Kyrgios never shy of having his voice heard. So WADA come out and say it would be a 1 to 2 year ban. Obviously, Sinner's team have done everything in their power to just go ahead and take a 3-month ban. No titles lost, no prize money lost, guilty or not. Sad day for tennis. Fairness in tennis does not exist. Stan Wawrinka, I don't believe in a clean sport anymore. And Tim Henman said it just seems a little bit too convenient. So they're the thoughts of some of the players and how they've accepted it.
Yeah, look, and I think the convenience is the factor there in terms of where it's at. As I said, I think it's a disservice to write off some of the big events that he'll miss, but he doesn't miss a Masters. He doesn't miss a Grand Slam, which is a factor. Look, Nick has clearly been gunning for Sinner for a long, long time. There's some personal history there. Parts of it, I think, parts of his criticism are right, but again, we should reiterate that in both hearings, as ugly as it sounds, both hearings have found that he didn't know about it, and that it had minimal impact on his performance, if any, negligible impact. So
it's a synthetic testosterone, though. Like, please, if I'd like to be able to take synthetic testosterone and say it doesn't affect my performance in any sort of match.
Yeah.
Be serious.
The problem with it is, it was such a small amount, but we don't know that if that was cleared.
Yeah.
If he'd been using it, and this was, they'd found a method where he could use it at the lowest amount, so he could well have been using it for a long, long time. But I'm just saying, what the hearing has found, what was accepted, is that what they initially accepted and what WADA could not contest and WADA accepted was that it had come from the trainer using it to treat cuts on his hand. I'm just saying that's what they're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Clearly, if you're cynical, and I think we are all cynical, there is, you can come up with an alternate explanation for that fairly easily. So, it could well be that given, as I think I've said before on the program, 39 Italian athletes over 5 years have tested positive to this. It's a long bow to think that anyone would have this in their kit bag to treat cuts in any way, shape or form, if you know that, and 5 of those players were tennis players, lower-ranked tennis players, but Italians testing positive of this substance for years and years and years, you'd want to try and steer far away from it. Otherwise, you end yourself in a situation where banned for 3 months. Could have been 2 years. You got lucky.
Indeed. Well, we'll continue to watch that space. Walsh, it's always an absolute pleasure catching up with you and talking sport. We thank you for your time on this Sunday morning here on The Aftermath. Enjoy the upcoming Champions Trophy action.
Hopefully they can get a couple of wins and get through to the semi-finals at least.
Good on you, Walshy.
See you, Courtney.
Take care, gents. Bye.
Let Marty Young and David Shortte do all the talking on the Aftermath. Sunday morning at its best on Tab Radio Racing and Sports.
Racing, Boracay Summer began very quickly on the inside. Musters through is going to hold the lead. Maximum Kuna works across with Inside Scoop out wider. Then Flying Frida, Sunset Lasso. Last of all was Zinc towards the back, and Boracay Summer the leader out by one. Right on the hills though in second was Maximum Kuna. 3 lengths behind them Inside Scoop, then followed by Flying Frida, Zinc and Sunset Lasso. Off the back Boracay Summer should be strong out by 2. In second Maximum Kuna, then followed by Inside Scoop as they swing. Boracay Summer's nicely clear, wins by 3 lengths on Maximum Kuna. 13 Inside Scoop, Flying Frida in behind them.
Okay, that was a heat of the Canning Trophy last night. Steve Withers joins us, who trains Boracay Summer. A very good morning, Steve.
Morning, guys. How you doing?
Very well indeed. Thank you, Steve. Congratulations, Boracay Summer. It's been a nice addition to the kennel.
Yeah, really surprising pickup. She came over with some sort of promise, and she's really grown into herself and taken to the west and enjoyed summer. And yeah, she's a exciting little dog.
Big time. Yeah, it continues to race really well, and into that final next week. Pretty sure it's come up with a red again, hasn't it, next week?
Yeah, she's been blessed and come up with the red. So, hopefully she uses it.
Steve's had her go, the one?
I'm not sure. I don't think she really minds. She'd been racing from wide over the corner start 600, which is notoriously bad, but she'd been doing a great job of going around the outside of dogs as well. So I think she just wants a little bit of racing room, and she'll do what she does.
Very versatile, has proven a great pickup. We've seen it race at different tracks, distances. Doesn't seem to matter too much what you throw up. She cops it and races well.
Regally bred and regally related. Her little brother, Franco, won the Group 1 700 at the Meadows last week.
Okay.
Her older half-brother is Amaron Boy, who's pretty talented himself.
Yeah, geez, he could let rip late in his races. Amaron Boy at his peak, no doubt about that. Now, it's a pretty big night in store for you, Steve, and the rest of the connections to the Harders, because your absolute superstar greyhound, Tommy Shelby, will be inducted into the WA Racing Hall of Fame tonight there at a gala function at Crown. He has meant so much to so many people, but none more so than your good self and Kira and your girls, and, of course, Mick and Jodie Hardie. So he was just such a special dog on the track. He's now doing amazing things as a stud dog, and he rightly takes his spot in the Hall of Fame there tonight.
Yeah, look, it's just a wonderful moment of reflection tonight for Tommy. It's something that I suppose you never thought you'd be associated with in the Hall of Fame. It's, over and above, and, quite special. We're very proud of him.
Big time. Is there a moment or two that stand out to you from your time with Tommy? We know that you travelled a lot with him through the COVID era, and you became great mates at different stages. You had... I mean, some people have kennels and the likes for their dog, but you had some pretty nice days where he was in the crib with you, and he was a great mate and a special animal, but you have a special bond. Were there 1 or 2 wins on the way through that really did stand out for you?
Probably a lot of stuff away from the track. We did spend a lot of time away, locked up in COVID, and it was really hard on the family, and they did a lot of work behind the scenes, but there was a couple of times, not so much the wins, but Brisbane, we ended up living out of an Airbnb, a pet-friendly house, just me and Tommy, and he slept on the double bed with me for 6 weeks, and he was the best of little buddies. And Tasmania, the only hire car we ended up being able to get hold of was a camper van with a double bed in the back. And, we spent a lot of days just being tourists and floating around some rivers and walkways and parks and beaches, and sleeping under a shady tree together. And yeah, it was pretty cool. He was a very special dog. He knew exactly what he was doing at all times. And away from the track, he was just the ultimate pet, just a buddy, and very cuddly, very sweet dog, and got him to the track and you had to hang on tight.
Amazing that, we talk about the relevance of names and how they can grow on you, but for you to handpick the name Tommy Shelby from Peaky Blinders and him to go on to be a Hall of Fame dog, it was a match made in heaven, the name and the dog.
Probably a lot more luck than good management. We sort of thought that he was handy, but there's a lot of dogs that come through and animals racing in all codes that come through, and they're very promising, but you could never in your life have dreamed that he had the racing talent and brain and just all-round prospect that he devolved into, yeah.
also tonight, Dave and Christine Robertson will also be going into the Hall of Fame. So we want to shout out to them and congratulate them. And in the Grey Under the Year discussion, you've got one of the three prospects with Uncle Tommy as well, a son of Tommy Shelby. So it's a huge, huge night for you, Steve. Thanks so much for taking the time to join us this morning here on The Aftermath. Enjoy it and soak it up. Celebrate a very, very special dog in Tommy Shelby and have a ripper night. Look forward to seeing you there this evening.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
See you, Steve. Steve Withers leaves us there. Big night. The package in control tonight, is he?
He's in charge, so just roll out the red carpet. It'll be a special evening, Marty.
And he's lining up for the Docker fans as well. I think there'll be a clip or two coming your way. Good on you, Shorty.
Bring him on. All the best.